She took off her clothes in front of the man and he just stood there, staring in a daze. The woman then sat on the platform, turned around and slipped into the fountain's pool. She searched underwater for a while before picking up a broken piece of a vase, while the man anxiously waited by the poolside. The next moment, Cecilia emerged from the water, her beauty so stunning that Robbie was completely frozen in place. It took him a long while to realize that he shouldn't be staring at Cecilia's body so impolitely. He quickly turned around and shut his eyes. Cecilia also sensed the growing tension in the air, so she hurriedly put her clothes back on. Then, visibly upset, she snatched the other piece of the broken vase from Robbie's hand. Watching the woman he liked walk away in frustration, Robbie didn't run after her to apologize. Instead, he reached out and touched the water she had just warmed with her body. Briony observes from the window and misinterprets the relationship between Cecilia and Robbie. Cecilia was the daughter of an upper-class British family, while Robbie was the son of one of their servants. To help pay off the debts left by his runaway father, Robbie stayed at the estate, working odd jobs. Because it was Cecilia's father who funded Robbie's education, Robbie not only had to repay the money, but also felt a deep sense of gratitude toward the family. Of course, his love for Cecilia was also a significant reason, but in front of everyone else, Cecilia acted indifferent toward Robbie, which made her younger sister Briony believe she had the right to like him.
If I fell in, would you save me?
Of course.
Robbie didn't hesitate. He jumped straight into the lake. In Briony's mind, if someone was willing to risk their life to save her, it meant that person must love her.
Thank you.
It's an incredibly bloody stupid thing to do.
I wanted you to save me.
Don't you know how easily you could have drowned?
At this moment, Briony had no idea why Robbie was actually angry. To Robbie, Briony's intense emotions weren't just childish stubbornness. They were unsettling, even frightening, a kind of fear that stemmed from Briony's deep-seated selfishness. So when Briony witnessed an intimate moment between Cecilia and Robbie, a surge of jealousy, disgust, and even a desire for revenge started to fester inside her. Just then, Cecilia's brother, Leon, arrived at the house with his friend, Paul. Paul was the owner of a chocolate factory, a wealthy businessman through and through. As he wandered through the hallway, he noticed 3 children. They were Cecilia's younger relatives, staying at the estate because World War II had made it impossible for them to return home. Paul put on a friendly and charming demeanor, but beneath the surface, he was not as kind as he seemed. Inside him lurked something far darker. Seeing that Lola appeared mature for her age, Paul handed her a chocolate bar as a gesture of goodwill. Meanwhile, Robbie was in his small room writing a letter to Cecilia. After witnessing Cecilia's breathtaking moment at the fountain, his mind was filled with images of her, soaked and radiant. He typed out a letter full of passion, one brimming with desire and emotion. Seeing the explicit and bold confession on the letter, Robbie couldn't help but laugh shyly. After thinking it over for a long time, he decided to write a second letter by hand, one that was proper and appropriate. Then, dressed in a sharp suit, he set off to deliver the letter to Cecilia. But Robbie made 2 fatal mistakes. On his way, he ran into Briony. Feeling too shy to give the letter to Cecilia himself, he asked Briony to pass it along. Faced with the handsome and charming Robbie, Briony was consumed with jealousy. Watching her run off with the letter, Robbie initially imagined Cecilia's reaction with excitement, but soon he realized something was terribly wrong. In his rush to leave, he had grabbed the wrong letter. The handwritten, proper one was still at home. Inside the envelope was the bold, passionate letter. To an adult, the words were intimate, perhaps too daring. But to Briony, they were something far worse. To her, they were disgraceful. She angrily handed the letter to Cecilia. As Cecilia read its contents, she suddenly became tense. On one hand, she was thrilled by Robbie's confession. On the other, she feared what would happen if Briony revealed the contents to others. But with so many people in the house and the letter being so sensitive, Cecilia couldn't scold Briony on the spot. Briony did not feel guilty at all for invading others' privacy. Instead, she told her cousin Lola about it. Under Briony's guidance, Lola echoed that Robbie was a complete scoundrel and should be handed over to the police. While the 2 young girls were discussing, Robbie rang the doorbell. and the one who came out was Cecilia. To Cecilia, a love letter was enough to reveal Robbie's true feelings. The explicit words were due to passionate love, and the provocative language was because of deep longing. Robbie had come to apologize for his reckless words. But for so many years, what Cecilia had been waiting for was precisely these words from Robbie. Whether it was a confession or a declaration of love, Cecilia would gladly accept it. At this moment, there were no barriers of class, no concern for what others might think.
Cecilia, I love you. I love you.
In the end, aren't all love words meant to lead to tenderness? What was supposed to be an eruption of love turned into a moment frozen in time, all because of Briony's intrusion. After tidying up her clothes, Cecilia left the room without saying a word. Robbie, who was behind her, wanted to say something, but after hesitating, he chose silence. Left alone, Briony shed tears filled with jealousy, and her thoughts began to distort. Later, the family gathered for dinner, and Robbie was invited to sit at the table. After the embrace earlier, the lingering affection continued beneath the table. Soon, Briony accidentally discovered a note. Cecilia was utterly panicked, thinking it was Robbie's love letter, but it turned out to be a farewell note written by two of the younger boys in the family. In this remote countryside, running away could mean starving to death, so everyone went outside to search for them. But Briony soon strayed from the group, wandering into the woods with a flashlight. Then she witnessed another similar scene. As her flashlight fell to the ground, she saw a man in a suit fleeing from her sight. Coming to her senses, Briony rushed forward to check on Lola. She asked Lola who had assaulted her. Briony thought she was seeking justice, but she had no idea that Lola was actually enjoying it.
It was Robbie, wasn't it? Robbie? You saw him. Like you said, he's a sex maniac, and you don't even know what happened before dinner.
Hearing Briony's accusation, Lola looked utterly shocked. However, if she could protect that man while also becoming the object of pity, why not? And so, before the two boys were even found, Lola was carried back to the house. As the only witness, Briony firmly claimed that the person who assaulted Lola was Robbie, to prove she was telling the truth. She even went to her sister's room, found Robbie's letter, and handed it to her mother. At this moment, Briony had no idea what consequences her lie would bring. Faced with the impending disaster, Cecilia was powerless. All she could do was wait for Robbie to return. Each member of the family carried different emotions as they watched Robbie return to the estate with the two missing boys. Robbie was relieved to have found the children, but Cecilia was filled with worry. Due to Briony's testimony, Robbie was arrested by the police before he could even step inside his house.
I love you. Come back. Come back to me.
As Robbie and Cecilia shared a sorrowful farewell downstairs, Briony felt satisfied, but for the rest of her life, she would bear the weight of this original sin. 3.5 years later, Robbie was released from prison, not because he had served his sentence, but because France had fallen in World War II, and Britain needed to send troops to assist the French in resisting the Germans. Robbie had the option to join the army and serve the country. If he could survive and return, he would be free from imprisonment. During his years in prison, Cecilia had already severed ties with her family. She was the only one who firmly believed in Robbie's innocence. No matter where Robbie was or where he went, she was determined to wait for his return. Choking up, Robbie was not without love. He was merely heartbroken by Cecilia's sacrifice. None of this was Cecilia's fault, which made Robbie feel even more that he had ruined her life.
See, you don't owe me anything.
Robbie, didn't you read my letters? Had I been allowed to visit you, had they let me every day, I would have been there every day.
Yes, but if all we have rests on a few moments in a library 3.5 years ago, then I'm not sure.
Robbie, look.
I don't know if...
Look at me. Come back. Come back to me.
After hearing Cecilia's words, Robbie let go of the chains in his heart. Before leaving, Cecilia took out a photograph from her coat. This was her keepsake for Robbie, symbolizing their dreamlike sanctuary. She would wait for him. After a deep, passionate kiss, Cecilia boarded the bus back to the hospital. As Robbie ran after the departing bus, watching Cecilia leave, it felt as if they were already thousands of miles apart. Half a year later, Robbie set foot on French soil. On the ever-changing battlefield, Robbie and 2 wounded soldiers were the only survivors of their unit. In the midst of relentless gunfire, Robbie spent countless nights longing for home. No matter how many ruins surrounded him, Robbie held firm to his belief in returning home. After a long and arduous journey, the 3 finally reached the beaches where the British were evacuating, only to discover that more than 300,000 soldiers were waiting for the same chance to return. On the shores of Dunkirk, despair loomed over everyone facing the threat of death. The rescue ships had been sunk by the Germans. Crossing the English Channel back to Britain was nothing but a pipe dream for the stranded soldiers. But Robbie didn't care about any of that. He had endured prison. He had survived the battlefield. And now, finally, he had a chance to go home, only to be trapped on this beach. If the Germans closed in, the 33-kilometer stretch of the English Channel would be the closest distance between Robbie and Cecilia. But Robbie and Cecilia were not the only ones unwilling to accept such an ending. So was Briony. The grown-up Briony had realized the irreversible harm her actions had caused to Cecilia and Robbie. The family had fallen apart. Cecilia had left home, and Robbie was far away, caught in the flames of war with an uncertain fate. To atone for her sins, Briony became a nurse, just like her sister Cecilia, hoping that one day she might be able to care for a triumphant Robbie, not for anything else, just to say sorry for the mistake she made. Seeing the endless stream of wounded soldiers around her, Briony forced herself to endure the discomfort and did her best to help them. The more she saw, the more she understood the cruelty of war, and the more she blamed herself. All these years, Briony had been writing to Cecilia, trying to seek her sister's forgiveness, but Cecilia never responded. Until one day, Briony attended a wedding. It was Paul and her cousin Lola's. Watching Paul and Lola exchange vows on stage filled Briony with endless irony. She had seen Paul's face that night on the lawn, but for her own selfish reasons, she had pushed Robbie into an abyss with no return. Perhaps only she truly understood how ridiculous their so-called love was in this marriage. After the wedding, Briony gathered her courage and went to visit Cecilia. So many years had passed, yet when they met again, Cecilia seemed unchanged. Regarding Briony's apology, Cecilia bluntly stated that she would not accept it, nor did she want to. Briony was not surprised by this, but Robbie's appearance completely stunned her. She had imagined countless scenarios of facing Robbie again, and in every one of them, she had to accept whatever happened unconditionally. Yet, her cowardly heart led her to the scene where Robbie lashed out at her in fury. Briony appeared small and pitiful as she silently endured Robbie's outburst of anger. She had no right to speak. In her mind, the harsher Robbie's words, the closer she came to true redemption. But some mistakes can never be undone, and some wounds, once inflicted, can never heal. Years later, the elderly Briony, now a renowned writer, gave an interview. Her final novel, Atonement, was the conclusion to the story of her life. But in the interview, Briony admitted that the scene of her going to Cecilia's home to beg for forgiveness was purely fictional. She did not want Robbie and Cecilia to continue playing tragic roles in the world of her novel, so she gave them a better ending. Because the real ending was one Briony herself could not accept. On the night before the Dunkirk evacuation, Robbie closed his eyes with thoughts of Cecilia in his heart. Due to his wounds and illness, Robbie never boarded the ship home. His love and his body remained in Dunkirk forever. And Cecilia, who had been waiting at home for Robbie's triumphant return, was caught in the flood caused by a burst pipe while sheltering from an air raid in the underground station. In the depths of her longing, she took her final breath.
My sister and Robbie were never able to have the time together they both so longed for and deserved, and which ever since
In the last pages of the novel, Robbie and Cecilia arrived at their dream beach, a place without war, without lies, without the chaos of the world. But no matter how beautiful the ocean in a book may be, it has no warmth. No matter how joyful their laughter, it had no sound. Because behind the beautified fiction, there is always the cruel truth of reality. Yet for two people in love, having loved was enough. Even if I must bear a sin I should never have carried, I will still hold on to my resolve to find my way back to you. Even if the whole world misunderstands you, I will stand by you without hesitation believe in you, wait for you, and love you beyond everything. I hope we all find the one we love and the one who loves us. That's all for today. See you next time.
Find you, love you, marry you, and live without shame.